I decided to give Torchlight 2 a try in 2023, and honestly, after trying it out, I think you should too. It's hard to believe that the game released almost exactly 11 years ago to this day, because honestly, while playing it, the game doesn't really show its age at all. In my opinion, it gives Diablo 4 a run for its money. Sure, the visuals may not be quite on the same level, and the combat may not be quite as modern, but damn is it close. It's easy to see why the game feels so close in feel to perhaps the greatest ARPG of all time, Diablo 2, and that's because Torchlight's developer, Runic Games, was created in part by the co-founder of Blizzard North. You can really see the inspiration here. In a lot of ways, while playing, it really felt like a more modern take on Diablo 2 to me, albeit with a much different graphical style. And that brings me to my first point of discussion about Torchlight 2, the art style. Now, some people may not be a fan of this slightly more cartoonish looking style the game is done in, but personally, I think it looks great. Sure, it's not as dark, realistic, or gory as some other ARPGs, but I don't think that's missed here. The overall tone of the world just seems to fit in perfectly with the aesthetic. Nothing looks or seems out of place, from the landscapes to enemies to spell effects or items and gear, everything just fits right in. A side effect of this lower poly count style is performance. I mean, just look at the minimum requirements on Steam. A 1.4 GHz or faster processor, 1 GB of RAM, and a GPU with 256 MB of onboard memory. Yeah, this could actually run on a potato, or a Nintendo Switch for that matter. Be sure to hop into the settings menu and crank all those graphics settings up, because I'm sure any somewhat modern system can handle it. Now, let's talk about gameplay. If you've played pretty much any other ARPG on the market today, you'll have a pretty good idea of what to expect. You pick up quests, kill things on your way to kill bosses, all while finding lots of loot along the way. Rinse and repeat. Now, Torchlight 2 does differ from Torchlight 1 in that there is actually more than one town or zone. The first game in the series was very much akin to Diablo 1, one town and a dungeon. It's nice to see that the second game expanded upon that formula. It is much bigger.
Huge tracts of land!
Combat in the game feels crisp and satisfying across all classes. I personally played most of my time on the Ember Mage, but the Engineer, Outlander, and Berserker all seemed like they would each be fun to play in their own right. And from inspecting the skill trees and items found, it feels like a large amount of builds would be viable. I would say the combat may feel slightly better in more modern ARPGs, but not by much. It's very good. A unique mechanic that I honestly wasn't expecting to find was the charge mechanic. During combat, there is an ever-present bar that begins to fill up as you kill enemies or fulfill other requirements, and depending on what class you're playing, it grants different bonuses or mechanics. Ember Mages with a full charge bar immediately enter what's called a total concentration state for 12 seconds, during which their skills cost no mana to cast and all of their offensive skills gain a 25% damage bonus on top of any other bonuses that already apply. Engineers have the most complex charge bar system, directly influencing and influenced by their skills. Their charge bar is marked with 5 pips spaced evenly along its length. When the engineer has one or more charge pips filled, some of the class skills drain these pips to produce more powerful effects. Other skills merely become more powerful with each subsequent charge pip without actually draining them. Outlander's charge bar grants a % bonus on casting speed, dodge chance, critical hit, and attack speed. The bonus ranges from 0% to 10% each stat, and is proportional to how much of the charge bar is filled. Additionally, when the Outlander's charge bar is empty, their next attack will inflict additional damage and is guaranteed to stun the first enemy it hits. Berserkers with a full charge bar enter a frenzy state, triggered by the first critical hit they inflict while the bar is full. The state lasts for a few seconds. In this state, all attacks against the Berserker's primary target become critical hits, and they gain increased critical hit chance against AoE targets. Additionally, they gain 15% increased movement speed. This mechanic also adds another layer of strategy to combat encounters, and the different effects give each class even more variety in addition to their different skills and equipment used. Now, besides the unique charge mechanic, the next thing that stood out to me most during my gameplay was the monster variety. There are over 40 unique types of monsters that you will encounter on your adventures through Torchlight 2, with some of those monster types containing additional subsets of monsters adding even more variety. For example, the skeleton monster type has 23 variations, the fungal mycons have 8 variations, etc. Constantly through my playtime, it feels like I'm continuing to encounter more and more new enemy types. It's honestly a breath of fresh air compared to some other ARPGs I've played where monster variety seems to be lacking. This is a job really well done by the developers. Props to them. I think the game has a really unique take on what I guess would best be compared to treasure goblins in Diablo 3 or Diablo 4. The Phase Beast is a type of monster that, when killed, opens a portal that transports you to a new area where you have to complete a certain challenge in order to unlock its rewards. Those challenges range from eliminating waves of enemies quickly, to poisoning spider nests, to surviving an endless onslaught of blobs, and much, much more. According to the Torchlight wiki, there are 15 known possible challenges to overcome. When I was given the option of choosing and customizing my pet during character creation, I wasn't really sure what to expect. When I think of pets in an ARPG, I think of something that runs around and collects gold for you or maybe consumes corpses, but boy was I underestimating what a pet could be. The way pets are implemented in Torchlight 2 is just fantastic in my opinion. Not only do they serve as a sort of companion that is always with you, attacking or tanking hits from enemies, they also act as a solution to a problem that has been always present in ARPGs, and that is the need to return to town when you get full up on loot. There's none of that here. You see, your pet is able to be loaded up with your precious loot and, with the click of a button, they can be sent back to town to offload it. They'll return after a couple of minutes with your gold, but not only can they sell your loot, you can also give your pet a shopping list. Need to have your pet come back with some health potions or maybe some identify scrolls or a town portal scroll? No problem, they can take care of that too. This is a really clever way to minimize player downtime, and I'm kind of surprised something similar isn't implemented in other ARPGs. Come on, Blizzard, just think of all the pet skins you could sell.
Not this time.
I also liked Runic's take on the inventory system in the game. Your character has a standard inventory tab that holds your gems and gear, a tab that holds potions and scrolls, and then a third inventory tab that holds spell scrolls you've picked up that can be equipped and used as additional abilities. This, combined with a pet's ability to bring things back to town to sell for you, made it so that inventory space was never really a problem. The only minor gripe I had was that I wished gems stacked, but otherwise, I thought this was just fantastic. I really liked the fame system in the game too, which, if you've played Diablo 4, fame is basically just renown, but maybe done a little bit better. Oh, and by the way, renown literally just means fame. Anyways, the way fame works here is anytime you kill a rare mob, boss, or complete a quest, you gain fame. As you gain fame, you earn different titles, and more importantly, an additional skill point each time your rank increases. I honestly think this is superior to the way Diablo 4 handles renown, where you have to fulfill specific objectives to gain renown to then get skill points or paragon points, etc. Sure, some of those are pretty vague and what needs to be done too, but here, literally all you do is play the game and your fame goes up. Personally, I prefer this method. Being able to assign stat points to strength, dexterity, focus, and vitality as you level up is honestly a breath of fresh air. This seems like something that is skipped in most ARPGs these days, and having it back is another callback to the Diablo 2 era. The freedom of being able to build my character exactly how I want to is welcomed, and I feel like the game does a sufficient job at explaining what each stat does, so I'm not confused as to where to put my attribute points when I level up. Itemization in the game is everything I would want out of a more modern Diablo 2-like ARPG, and if you've played any similar game, you probably have somewhat of an idea as to what to expect. Stats like increased resistances, experience gained, increased health, pluses to different attributes, etc. I found it easy to understand what each affix did, and it never seemed too simple or overwhelming, unlike a certain ARPG that released earlier this year. I mean, seriously, just look at these affixes. I really only have one gripe with the game after my time played, and that is the lack of ability to do a full character respec. There is a respec NPC in town that allows you to roll back the last 3 skill points spent, but there's no way to actually fully respec your character. This seems like a bit of a miss, and I'm not really sure why we aren't given the option. I understand wanting choices to matter when you're leveling, but even Diablo 2 allowed us the occasional respec. Now, I was playing the PC version, but apparently console versions of the game do give you the ability to reset your skill points, so there is that, but I would love to see the feature added to the PC version. If not, I guess there's always mods or other ways to go about it. So, if you're looking for something new to play in 2023, I would highly recommend Torchlight 2. In my opinion, it's everything you would want from an ARPG. Monsters to slay with satisfying combat, lots of loot to find, and a plethora of builds to try out. This is easily one you could sink 100 hours or more into. What are your thoughts on Torchlight 2? Do you think it holds up 11 years later? What class or build do you enjoy most? Let me know down below. As always, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and subscribe for more. This is Jarbo Gaming. We'll see you on the next one.